The anime starts by telling us that in this world called Earthclare, everything is run by swords and magic, until the arrival of stats began a new era. We then see a young black-haired boy holding some coins, mentioning the big profits he made today. But suddenly, he hears a child scream, who is about to be attacked by a level 3 slime. The child and his father lose all hope, as they are both only level 1. His life was about to end, until a coin shoots out of the forest, piercing and defeating the slime, which drops several bronze coins. Right there, the young man introduces himself and asks if they are okay. Noticing they both have their status windows open, he mentions that monsters don't understand those windows. Very surprised, the father asks how he was able to defeat that slime. The young man doesn't answer and asks the child for his hand, giving him the 100 bronze coins the slime dropped, asking if he doesn't think it's amazing. The child replies no, as monsters are very strong and someone at his level could never defeat them. The young man laments this, and was about to leave when the child cheers up and asks him, calling him sir, if he is a hero. He replies that he's still too young to be called that, and shows his status window. The father and son are left speechless upon seeing this, as the young man named Koji Kagami is a villager just like them. However, the most impressive thing is his level, which is 999. This way, we learn a bit about this world. The nation we see is called Exaldria, previously known as Japan. One day, various species of monsters began to appear, and since then, people are assigned a specific class at birth. Some have special talents like warrior, fighter, priest, mage, thief, merchant, hunter, and sorcerer. Yes, there are many. While others possess exceptional powers, like sage, hero, and king. However, the most common and weakest of all is being a villager. The vast majority only reach levels 1 to 10, and they are no match even for the weakest monster. Because of this, the only way to make a living is by working as farmers or innkeepers, except for our protagonist. Switching scenes, we see a small red-haired girl in a hood running hurriedly through the forest, until she suddenly stops at the entrance of an ancient cave, and upon seeing it, she mentions that inside is the legendary Great Holy Sword. Moving to another side, we find ourselves in Balman, the neutral city. Here we see food merchants, warriors choosing weapons, and our protagonist, Koji, strolling peacefully among them. On the other hand, we see a knight and a sorceress, who mentions that her great moment has finally arrived. Since the appearance of the monsters, the world has been engulfed in great chaos, causing 80% of humanity to be under the yoke of all the monsters, and now they begin their journey to save everyone, asking the knight if he is sure about coming with her, to which he firmly replies that this is the mission assigned to him. Yes, a true knight. Now, back with Koji, we see him entering the Public Safety Guild. And why, you may ask? Well, to turn in the items from his mission, the receptionist thanks him, paying him with 5 gold coins. Others in the guild hear this and are amazed, as it is very strange for one person to achieve such a quantity, raising the question of who he might be. Koji simply takes his coins and leaves, but before that, he sees a board on the wall with items they can buy, and among them, he spots a mysterious chest that costs 10,000 gold, revealing that he has only gathered half of that. Following this, he goes to check the new missions and hears others complaining about the newly posted missions, as it seems that monster hunting missions are the most dangerous, so dangerous that they seem to be sending people to their deaths. However, the full payment is worth it. They could even get rich. One particular mission is located in the ancient cave, offering 1 gold for hunting 30 blue devils, something that catches Koji's attention. Meanwhile, in the city, the sorceress and the knight from before are giving a speech. He asks everyone why they think the capital keeps posting missions, why they need to hire mercenaries to travel to another city. Any answer always relates to the monsters, even theorizing that the mana from demons creates the monsters. Everyone agrees that the greatest enemy of humanity is all the demons and the demon king who rules them, so defeating him is the only way to find peace. This is how the knight introduces himself as Hero Rex alongside the sage, both seeking people willing to fight by their side, and to confirm this, he shows his status window. Confirming they are the hero and the sage, people start volunteering, assuring they can defeat the demon king. Among them, a man with a scar on his face says he has enough experience to join, as he has been making a living by killing monsters for 25 years. And yes, wow, he's already old. However, when the hero sees he is a level 86 warrior, he dismisses him, and the guy asks why. Then, the hero clearly tells him that he doesn't care about his situation, as a condition to join a group is to contribute at least the same as he does, meaning they must be at least level 90. Indignant by this, the warrior asks the sage's level, and upon seeing it's 42, he complains that it's even less than half. The hero defends her, saying she is more than enough. After all, she's a sage, and, in time, he knows she will be a great asset. Also, she's the princess of the nation. The crowd is amazed, and the hero introduces her as Kanasuke Krulexaldria, the third daughter of King Simon, who accepted her fate as a sage and trained her whole life. However, the hero disqualifies him, saying he's too old, and if the journey takes longer, his health would be a burden. A young level 72 priest then steps up, but the hero rejects him, saying he doesn't see him getting stronger. Then Tino Bills, a young level 50 priestess, offers to join. And guess what? The hero welcomes her with a smile. The crowd stirs, noting she's weaker than the last priest, but the hero believes she has potential. He immediately realizes the hero wants to experience traveling with his harem. Well, what can I say? Back with the mediocre hero, he announces there's still one spot left in his group, and then a purple-haired mage appears. In a scene change, we see our protagonist arrive at the ancient cave for a mission. At the entrance, he stops, wishing to finish this quickly to go have sushi at a nice restaurant. Inside, he strolls through the halls without worry, until he encounters a level 93 blue devil. Seeing that the devil counts for the mission, Koji goes deeper into the dungeon and takes out all the monsters he finds. After several monsters, they drop a blue devil horn. Our protagonist inspects it closely, wondering why it has such a high price. Putting that aside, he continues with the mission until only 15 remain. Suddenly, he sees a shadow in the distance. So excitedly, he runs to defeat the creature. But when he arrives, he sees the hero and his group on that path. Fearing they might see him, he hides to see what they do, watching as the hero defeats a blue devil and his companions praise him. Tina mentions she felt someone approaching for a moment. The hero suggests it was probably a blue devil that ran away scared. In response, the princess turns and makes it clear that she is now a sage and her companion, so she would appreciate being called by her name. The purple-haired mage replies that it's too long, so she'll just call her Q, and introduces herself as Parna. Amidst all this, Parna asks Rex why they came to this dungeon if the Demon King's castle is on the other side. Rex reveals that there's a hidden chamber in this dungeon known only to the royal family, and to get there, they must follow some emblems. The detail about this sword is that no hero has been able to wield it. Parna asks why the royalty kept it hidden, since with that sword they could defeat the Demon King. However, Rex mentions that the hero class is rare, but not unique, so it doesn't guarantee a hero can defeat the Demon King. The reason Rex knows this is that Karul told him as soon as he knew he would form the group, as his father didn't want his daughter to bear such a responsibility. But being a sage, Rex is confident they can defeat the Demon King. Tina mentions they really are an incredible group, and Parna assures it will at least be a very interesting journey, until we see the little redhead from before, who, upon removing her hood, reveals the horns behind her head. Meanwhile, Koji continues fighting, Aura against him alone, but without any effort, he takes them all out at once, noting that only 2 blue devils remain. Just behind him, one appears, which he dispatches without blinking. But something catches his attention. There are too many, and it takes him less time than usual. Just then, the girl runs past him toward the devils, but they completely ignore her. On Rex's side, he is already very tired. Knowing this, Rex realizes how many monsters there were, but more importantly, the holy sword is missing. The girl says she didn't take it, but they still plan to eliminate her. They all attack at once, until Koji appears in front of them, taking the hit for her. Rex asks who he is, and he replies he's just a simple villager. Hearing this, they can't understand how he stopped their attack, or why he protects the demon girl. Koji asks them not to get upset, as it's just some blue devil horns his sister took from the drops. Team connects this to the strong mana readings in the area, which Koji confirms, and to back up his explanation, he shows them the completed quest. Rex decides to believe his story, but then asks why his sister was in that room, and demands to know what happened to the holy sword that should be on that stone. Koji turns around and nervously apologizes, saying he took it, explaining he came to this cave a while ago and found that place, but ended up selling the sword to a merchant. Upon hearing this, Rex gets furious, as it's the royal family's sword. Koji apologizes, claiming he didn't know it belonged to the king, but Rex obviously doesn't believe him. After all, that sword was imbued with the mana of ancient sages, and only someone with a hero class should be able to pull it out. Koji admits it was quite heavy, so to prove he did lift it, he raises the platform with sheer brute strength. Yes, the protagonist is a real monster. Seeing this, the hero asks him about his level. Koji shows he's a level 999 villager. Rueg is stunned to see this, and demands to know how he reached that level. The protagonist replies he fought monsters every day. Rex questions the truth of this, as he does the same, and he's sure no one surpasses him. Koji tells him it's logical if he only defeats them. Druex was about to respond when Kuro stops him and confronts Koji for stealing his family's treasure. Koji offers to pay, but seeing money isn't an issue, he asks what to do. Ku suggests joining their group to defeat the Demon King, but Koji declines. Rex asks why, since with their skills, they could easily do it. Koji replies that his only goal is to earn money to survive. After all, the Demon King hasn't done anything to him. Ku questions if he doesn't want to help those who suffer, or if he seeks glory and wealth. Koji answers that he isn't interested in that. In response, Kusu offers to become his wife after defeating the Demon King, but Koji flatly rejects her, making it clear that defeating the Demon King isn't an achievement for him, and he finds the talk about suffering people a bit arrogant. With that, he grabs the girl's hand to leave, but before doing so, he tells the hero he's ignorant, as he still doesn't understand how the world works. Outside, Koji says goodbye to the girl, but she stops him, saying he's exactly the person she's been looking for, and asks him to marry her. Caught off guard by the unexpected proposal, Koji replies he might consider it in 100 million years, and without further ado, he says goodbye. The girl stands in front of him, asking him to wait, but Koji explains he can't marry her. Besides, he likes mature women with curves. The girl insists they can marry in 3 years, which he thinks isn't enough time. Koji changes the subject, and asks why she wanted the legendary holy sword. The girl tells him her father is very sick, and that it's dangerous. Hearing this, Koji asks who her father is. The girl reveals that her father is the Demon King. Koji is surprised that the old man is so sick. Hearing how she refers to her father, the girl asks if he knows him. However, Koji tells her they only met a few times. The girl asks if that's why he rejected Matablog. Koji replies no, he just doesn't believe Matablog is useful. After all, the mana produced by demons with their horns creates monsters that attack humans, and the hatred humans feel for them won't change. The girl tells him her goal is coexistence between races, but Koji tells her that won't work. After all, the world is such that both races must hate each other, and with that, he continues on his way. Passing by the heroes, the girls think of a new plan, but when they ask Rex, he remains lost in thought, repeating Koji's words over and over. Then, coming to his senses, he declares he'll become the strongest in the world. Back with the protagonist, he asks the girl to stop following him, but she asks for a favor, to buy a healing potion called Spirit's Blessing. Of course, she shows him the money, but Koji tells her it costs 10 gold coins. Not having that money, the girl asks to borrow it, saying if she doesn't get that medicine for her father, humans will finish him off, and then the whole demon race. Koji tells her that they will look for Seulat sooner or later. He then asks if she doesn't hate humans. The girl tells him her father taught her that hatred leads nowhere. Seeing she's not bad, Koji takes out a special cloth and covers her horns, saying he'll accompany her to buy the potion. The girl says she can't, but then notices the mana from her horns has vanished. Surprised, she asks how he did it. Koji tells her about the mana-generating stone, a material that absorbs mana and creates monsters, and he found one growing. When he broke it, it gave him a strange material. The girl mentions that this cloth seems specially made for her horns and asks why he has it, but instead of answering, Koji asks her name, saying it's Alice Valnesio, and they leave together. Back in Balmain, Koji shows Alice around the city. Seeing her so amazed, a merchant gives her an apple, which she eats happily. After that, they stroll through the market, where mostly seafood is sold for 400 bronze. Alice asks how much the apple costs, and Koji replies it's 150 bronze, though with 1,000 you could have dinner, and with 1 silver a full banquet. Alice calculates that 1,000 bronze equals 1 silver, and 10,000 silver equals 1 gold. With just that, you could have a house, but if you want a noble's house, it will cost 50. This helps her understand why the spirit's blessing potion costs 10 gold, as even a noble uses it at most once a year. Because of this, Alice feels foolish for the amount she offered, and asks Koji if he's sure about giving it to her. To which Koji jokes that he'll charge the Demon King later. Alice replies he probably could, since he has many jewels, so besides the 10, she'll ask for 5 more gold, revealing it's a bonus for taking her to his castle. After their outing, they go to sleep, but Koji mentions that to go, he needs to travel with someone else. One will protect and the other must fight, mainly because of adventurers. He leaves asking her not to open the door for anyone, but then they see a stranger in the sky threatening humans. After a while, Alice hears Koji knocking, but it turns out to be a stranger. She faints from fright, though behind him was Koji. Now calmer, Koji gifts Alice a bow for her horns and introduces her to Takako Builder, a level 124 pugilist. He tells her he's informed about everything and vows to protect her. He shares that years ago he hated demons, but one day, when he was about to die, a demon saved his life, and that's when he realized they weren't so different. After that incident, he stopped going out and now runs a bar and club in the city, where he also met Koji. Remembering this, he hits our protagonist because he hasn't been to his business lately. Little Ali is surprised, but immediately apologizes for her reaction. Takako tells her not to worry and invites her to take a bath. Ali seems a bit hesitant, which Koji understands, so he clarifies that Takako is a woman. This surprises the girl and me too, as I didn't know, but she points out that she doesn't have anything up front. Koji explains that she trained so hard she burned the fat from her bust and turned it into muscle. This annoys Takako, who stands up and kicks him in the neck. While he bleeds, Koji asks them to get along, and we switch to both being alone. Alice keeps thinking about how surprisingly strong Takako is, able to leave Koji, even at level 9999, sluggish. Takako explains that this is due to her training, as a pugilist is 3 times stronger than a villager of the same level. Also, by specializing in hand-to-hand combat, every 100 levels they gain a special combat technique. But of course, in a real fight, she doesn't think she would stand a chance against Koji. Switching back to our protagonist. He was lying on his bed remembering his unfortunate past. Back with the girls, Alice asks how Koji became so strong. Takako replies she doesn't know, but he probably fought tirelessly against much stronger monsters to level up. Alice doubts that's the reason, as she doesn't know any monster that exceeds level 500. In response, Takako asks if she's worried that someone else might reach level 999 and try to kill her father. Seeing that she is, she tells her it's unnecessary. After all, Koji is the only one who can do this, as he lacks something very valuable that the rest of living beings have. Hearing this, Alice stops and asks what that valuable thing is, but Takako assures her she'll find out soon enough. Suddenly, a tremor shakes the streets. It's a blood buffalo. People watch as more of these monsters crash into buildings, and Koji notices one falling into his room. From the sky, the demon announces the start of the annihilation of humanity as part of the Demon King's plan. Alice is stunned by this, especially when she sees the attack on the citizens, wondering if they really can't be friends. Meanwhile, Koji throws the buffalo, which hits one of the birds, and immediately goes for his money. But more monsters appear along the way, so he sends them flying one by one. Seeing his army being defeated, the demon searches for the culprit. Meanwhile, Alice asks what's happening. Takako quickly realizes that Koji is behind all this, so they go to find him. In the meantime, Koji collects his money and spots the guy on top of the birds. While Takako is escaping, Alice hides behind him as the hero stands in front with a group of adventurers ready to defend the city. Rex boasts about his attack as he takes out a crow, and Krull calls for everyone's strength to defeat the Demon King's army. Everyone gets motivated to fight, and Rex is about to take out another crow when his attack collides with the boar Koya threw. They get annoyed for being interrupted, but Koya scolds them for attacking so recklessly in the city, asking what would happen if they missed and hit an innocent, rating their plan a 3 out of 10, and gives the princess a few taps for allowing this. Takako and Alice arrive just then. When they see him, Parna asks if he was the one launching the monsters due to his lack of magic. This surprises Alice, who calls Koji by his last name, even though they're supposed to be siblings. Koji brushes it off as a family custom and asks Alice if she knows who brought the monsters. She tells them the name is Minu, from the family that serves her father. Krull asks Koji to lend them his strength to stop the army's attack, but Koji points out a flaw in their plan. They might have done this to test the waters and see which area to invade, so they can't show their best cards. First, they need to know their objective, so he jumps, propelled by Takako, to ask Minu directly. Minu asks who he is and how he got here. Koji replies that he's just a simple villager and that a gorilla made him fly. Minu uses her magic to explode him, but it only burns his clothes. She asks again what he is, doubting he's just a simple villager, and obviously, he's not, so Koji shows her his status window. This leaves her even more confused. It's impossible for a human to reach his level. He tells her to calm down, explaining that he's friends with the Demon King and is looking after his daughter Alice. Minu still doesn't believe him and asks if he's on the demon's side. Koji replies no, and that he came here to ask if this attack was an order from the Demon King, also mentioning the king's delicate health. Minu says that's a lie, as he remains as strong as ever. Upon hearing this, Kogino thinks of staying idle, but Manao recalls the moment he received the order, noting it wasn't the Demon King who requested it, but his assistant who was frozen. However, the king himself was right in front of him. Koji points out that just because he was there doesn't mean it was his will. He could have been manipulated. For Manao, it makes no sense that someone would control their king. But to be sure, he decides to return to the castle. Before that, Koji finishes off the remaining crows, as he needs to farm money. Everyone below watches as he takes out the crows, and now with one less burden, they go to help the injured, while Manao is about to leave, but Koji asks him to wait, saying if they let Manao go, they could dispose of him as soon as he arrives, so he suggests saying the mission failed to get into the castle. Yes, how clever our protagonist is. With that said, he finishes off the last crow, confident that neither of them will die at this point. Indeed, nothing happens to him, although Menu is a bit more hurt than Koji, who takes his cloak to stash the money and asks him to introduce himself. Minu replies that his family has served the Demon King for generations, and he has been doing so for 3 years. He also asks if Koji isn't going to kill him, but Koji knows how important he is to Alice and wouldn't want to do that. Minu questions why he feels empathy for a demon, but Koji understands that it's the monsters causing the hatred towards them, and that demons attack humans in self-defense. With that said, he returns to the city, announcing that he and Alice will leave tomorrow. This would make the humans distrust him. However, Koji doesn't intend to break his promise to Alice. The next morning, our heroes have breakfast while thinking about how to travel to the castle, since they can't go by horse as a large group. Alice asks why, and Koji explains that horses are afraid of demons, which would be a problem with Minu. Then, they come up with a brilliant idea to ask some centaurs for help, a very proud race, but they're all masochists willing to work for a few whips. Yes, it's very strange really. Clearly, this traumatizes little Alice, who hears the pleasure screams of those perverts. At that moment, Takako arrives, finding them frozen in fear. Later, the boys meet with Manu, who, upon seeing little Alice, kneels and apologizes for attacking the city he was visiting. Regretful for his mistake, he asks how he can make it up to her. Alice reassures him to lift his head, and then Manu turns to Koji, thanking him for taking care of Princess Alice. At that moment, Takako interrupts, praising Minu for being such a handsome man. Seeing her so close, Minu panics and asks who the hell she is. Poor Takako. Alice introduces her as Takako, another human who protected her. While they say this, the heroes group appears and surrounds them, accusing them of conspiring against the kingdom. Koji doesn't panic and asks why they are ambushing them. The saint replies that they won't let them escape after discovering they support demons. In response, Koji gives her 0 points for strategy, lightly tapping her on the head, telling her she'll be a saint, but a total idiot. The hero gets angry at this and starts attacking, as if he were a rival, but Koji easily dodges until he decides to grab his sword. Parna reminds them that many innocents were hurt in yesterday's attack, so they must make the culprit pay. Rex adds that demons are evil, so he can't leave any alive. Koji then asks him if he really believes that, and if he's thought about why they think so. He uses Alice as an example, reminding them that when they first met, they didn't think she was evil even though she's the Demon King's daughter. Hearing this, the heroes group is stunned. Koji continues, saying that demons don't harm for no reason. It's the horns that create monsters, so he won't allow them to kill his friends. With that, he breaks the hero's sword like it's nothing. After all this, Tina questions why the demon attacked the city. Koji acknowledges it was wrong, so he apologizes and promises they'll turn him into jail once they resolve an issue with the Demon King. The saint asks what he means, and Koji explains that the Demon King wants peace with humans, so it's strange he would order an attack on the city. Upon hearing such nonsense, Rex doesn't believe him, questioning the credibility of his words. Koji reveals he knows the Demon King, so he knows exactly what he's like. Despite all the explanation, Parna doesn't believe him and casts a fire spell, suggesting he might be manipulated. Koji, smiling, says that could be true, and then runs off while telling Alice that living together will be very complicated. However, Alice, ever optimistic, tells him at least they listened this time. This is how they arrive with their transport, which turns out to be the centaurs, as Manu had stolen them from the merchant earlier, so they have no choice but to travel with them, making Manu regret his decision. After a while, the heroes group stopped searching for them. For Rex, it still doesn't make sense that demons aren't to blame. Parna suggests returning to the city to continue with a carriage, while we see a brief flashback of their past. Back with the protagonist, Takako explains that to reach the Demon King, they must pass through Atris Island, but first, they'll stop in Salmaria, mainly so Menu's mana doesn't create monsters. Upon hearing this, Manu struggles to understand why Koji doesn't hold a grudge against demons, and he shares that the goal of the attack was to send a message that the invasion was about to begin, and the first place to conquer would be Salmaria. The next day, they arrive at this place. To enter with Manu, they'll say they're here to sell blue devil horns to camouflage his mana. As they are about to enter, a guard interrogates them. At first, he finds it odd that he comes with his sister to sell horns, but then remembers there's a parade today. He tells them they managed to defend against the Demon King, and tomorrow they'll have a parade to send an army to attack his castle. The next day, they find a big parade, but Koji says if they're so happy, it's because they trust their victories. He warns that if the Demon King attacks seriously, it would wipe out Salmaria's army, ending any hope for coexistence between humans and demons. He reassures them he has a plan to infiltrate the Demon King's castle before they return, so they can talk to him and then stop the demon army and capture the fugitives. Hearing this, Takako asks what he'll do if the Demon King really wants to eradicate humanity. Koji calmly replies he'll fight with all his strength, but from a third position, leading an army that seeks coexistence between humans and demons. He tells them there are many like them in the outside world who will support the cause and fight for peace. After hearing this, Alice says she will join him, as she won't let her father hurt more innocent people. Takako and Menu also join them, confirming a new alliance. Yes, this is so beautiful. That night, our protagonists go to eat at a restaurant, but there they run into the heroes group. Immediately, Koji grabs Alice and runs away. The group starts to follow him, but our protagonists hide in a parade. At the scene, Alice sees a group of adventurers surrounding a monster. Koji explains it's a show to motivate people by killing a weak monster, which he thinks is in bad taste. Suddenly, something falls from the sky. It's a level 213 infernal beast. Obviously, the citizens flee. Koji and Alice watch as more of these monsters fall from the sky. Meanwhile, in the heroes group, they give up on finding our protagonist. In an attempt to find him, Tina suggests asking the locals, warning that she works with demons. Rex dismisses this idea, saying he might attack if cornered. The saint doubts he would, as she never saw that intention, and suggests talking to him to understand. Parna questions their intentions, but eventually agrees. As they discuss what to do about our protagonist, they hear the citizens' screams and rush to see what's happening. When they arrive, Kurul saves a villager from the monsters, but it's so strong it breaks his magic shield. Just as she was about to be defeated, Kurul appears to block the attack. Seizing the opportunity, Kurul tells the villager to leave. As he does, her companions arrive and see Kurul thanking our protagonist for saving her. Rex, confused, asks for an explanation. Koji informs him that a level 212 monster attacked them. This puzzles Rex, who asks if he defeated it and, if so, what ability he used. Koji replies, it was just a charged strike. Rex questions the credibility of this, as it's the most basic ability. Kurul confirms what Koji said, adding that she saw it with her own eyes. At that moment, Alice appears, hiding behind our protagonist when she sees the others. Rex asks to talk to Koji, but he, seeing the chaos on the other side, tells him to wait. Just then, a guard runs toward them, warning that a huge horde of nearly 10,000 monsters is approaching. Rex thinks about retreating to gather forces, but Koji has other plans. He says he will go look for his friends at the inn and asks them to watch over Alice. Yes, too trusting. Rex warns they could hurt her, but Koji is sure they won't, and to get them to agree, he earnestly begs them to take care of her. This action shocks everyone, leaving them in silence, and without further ado, Koji leaves them behind. Parna tells Alice it seems he abandoned her, yes, like a Latin American father, but she replies that if he trusts them, she will too. The princess hugs her, swearing not to break her promise, as even if she doubts Koji, she knows Alice isn't dangerous. Meanwhile, people are evacuating, and Koji is leading them. The heroes group also helps the people until Minu and Takako arrive. Alice goes with them, but notices that Koji didn't see them. Suddenly, Rex assumes Koji was looking for them, and Alice reveals that Takako is a woman, something no one noticed. Kurul mentions that Koji asked them to look after Alice, and went to the inn to meet her, making them wonder where he went. Just then, a knight arrives to report that a man is fighting alone against a horde, and it seems he's a villager. Alice understands he's doing it to keep the monsters from ravaging the city and to prevent a greater conflict between humans and demons, so she, along with Takako, Minu, and the heroes group, rushes to help him. At the scene, Koji is fighting but is already tired. Everyone arrives to see Koji taking down as many as he can. Rex asks how he thought it was a good idea to fight alone. Takako replies that she doesn't want to see any more deaths. Now Koji is fighting for the peace of both humans and demons. If this city falls, hatred and anger will grow, marking a point of no return. Rex understands this, but even with that level, it will be impossible for him to defeat so many. Takako explains that Koji isn't thinking about winning or losing, just whether he will give up or not. She adds that the protagonist lacks something essential for all living beings, the fear of death and the aversion to dying. We see Koji grab a giant and use it to take down several foes. Seeing this, Rex asks how he gained all that strength. Takako tells him it's not so different from her own, as like him, Koji's father was killed by a monster, and out of that resentment, he dedicated himself to defeating monsters and leveling up, even though his class was that of a villager, which made progress difficult. He discovered that the benefit of this was that he could level up much faster than others, reaching level 53 at 9 years old. Finally, the day he encountered the monster that killed his father, he managed to defeat it, so he went home to tell his mother. However, his entire village had been ravaged by bandits. Takako adds that this left Koji in deep doubt, as even though he swore vengeance against monsters, it's not so easy to do so against humans. After all, they are of the same race. Having heard his whole story, Alice remembers when she asked him why he refused to kill demons, to which Koji replied it was nonsense. The hero also reflects, thinking he was foolish to act without thinking. Kroll clarifies that he wasn't entirely wrong, as Koji also said demons were harmful, so if he still remains neutral, he wants to know what that important reason is, and for that, he can't let him die. Thus, he prepares to join the fight. Pruex asks him to wait because he also wants to talk to Koji about how he became so strong. Tina joins them, saying someone needs to heal them, while Parna doesn't care who he has to fight. The heroes group heads to battle, and Menu asks Alice if she wants to save Koji, as if so, he will help too, even if it means being a traitor. Takako asks Alice to hide while they fight, promising to bring Koji back. Meanwhile, our protagonist is already taking hits and can't recover like before. However, as long as he has strength, he will keep fighting to prevent Salmaria from falling. However, he is grabbed by a group of monsters, and a giant was about to attack him, but Rex hits it with his holy ray. Koji asks them what they're doing here. Krull replies that they want to know more about him. Rex won't let a villager fight alone, and Menu is here because they asked her. Takako arrives, saying they're going to help him and takes care of healing Koji. The protagonist understands but doesn't want them to risk their lives, to which Krull responds that they won't die, nor will they let him die. Koji is motivated by this, asking everyone to value their lives, giving it his all on the battlefield until a giant throws a rock at him. Everyone, of course, worries, but he comments that he's fine. Clearly, he isn't, and Tina is going to heal him, telling him to worry more about himself, but he replies that he can be at ease because he trusts all of them, realizing he's not alone anymore. But hey, if you've made it this far, comment the word level to let me know you reached the end. Here on screen, I'll leave you these 2 cool videos just like the person watching this video. See you next time. Take care, drink water, bathe, and bye-bye.